because it's got to be the intelligence and operational side working together.
Thank you. Senator Rubio.
Thank you. As we discussed on the phone, and this would come up today, so I want to give you an opportunity to address it, is there's some reason to address, I believe, the very few but nonetheless billable hours on behalf of the China National Offshore Oil Corporation. And the reason why it's of concern is because it fits the fact pattern for how the Chinese Communist Party aggressively, plays abroad. And in particular, here are the basic facts as I understand them. And so I think the first thing is I want to make sure I understand the facts the members of the committee do. In April of 2018, a partner at the firm, I believe in the China office, asked for help because he was working for their client, the CNOC, I guess, China National Offshore Oil Corporation. And it was related to a March 2018 release by the U.S. Trade Representative of the findings of the investigation into China's acts, policies, practices related to technology transfer. The report included the government's evidence for how the Chinese government provided competitive intelligence through cyber intrusions to Chinese state-owned enterprises in furtherance of its Made in China 2025 goals and as part of its military-civil fusion. And the report explicitly stated that in 2012, this company twice requested and received intelligence from Chinese intelligence services that helped them in negotiations with 5 U.S. companies. In fact, the report specifically found that these examples illustrate how China uses the intelligence resources at its disposal to further the commercial interest of Chinese state-owned enterprises to the detriment of their foreign partners and competitors. So the core nugget in the report is there is no distinction really between a Chinese company and the government. The government they do, American corporations competing with a foreign corporation don't get to go to the CIA or NSA or whatever and get intelligence information to negotiate and compete, and these guys do. So, but the fact pattern about you being asked by a partner at the firm to look into it is I believe is correct. So if you could just tell us what was the nature of the work, why were you called in to do it, what did you do?
Thank you, Senator Rubio, and thanks for raising this and flagging it in our call the other day. That was very good of you, and I appreciate you asking about it. And I think it's an appropriate thing, an important thing to ask about. Just in terms of the facts, I think you have the facts largely right. It was actually a partner here in the States who does trade stuff. So that partner was looking to see what trade sanctions kind of consequences there could be because of these allegations. And he thought, to be complete, he wanted to find out if there were any criminal exposure. So he asked me to have an associate write a memo that just said, these are the criminal laws that could be implicated. That associate did that. I passed the memo back, and as you said, it was 2.8 hours of work. It was, I had no contact with a client, did no advocacy, talked to nobody, didn't call anybody in the government. It was literally sort of like almost a law school exercise by the associate. But it was on behalf of the Chinese oil company. And look, you raise, I think, very legitimate concerns about, and not just here, but you're a leader in this area, and I know that you and Senator Warner have done a roadshow with members of academia and industry to raise the alarm about what China's doing. And I agree with you in the need to do that and the fact that that's happening. We're seeing now an assault sort of across the board in every space, political, economic, military, by China to try to become dominant over the United States and change the world order. So I agree with that. And in fact, I think I mentioned this the other day, harking back to my time in the National Security Division at DOJ, 2006 to 2008, that's when there was just a dawning realization that in terms of technology theft, that the Chinese were rapacious. And so my colleagues and I were really sort of banging the drum, sounding the alarm about that back then to try to get academia and the industry to pay attention. So this is consistent with what I've seen over the last 15 years, and I can assure you that if I get into the position at INA, I will keep sounding that alarm.
Yeah, and so my time is about to expire, but I'm curious, what did you know about this company before this work came to you? The way you've described it is, partner came to you and said, can I get answers to this? You handed it off to an associate who did a law school type exercise, came back with a memo, you reviewed it, and you submitted it to the partner that requested it. But what did you know about this company at the time? And I'm just curious, obviously, did it make you sort of queasy in any way or concerned that the firm was advocating or trying to help a company that, that undertakes these sort of actions that implicate national security concerns?
Well, a couple things. I think when I thought about it, I thought that he was looking at a range of sanctions, didn't have the expertise to look at white collar. I was just the one through whom the assignment would go to somebody in the white collar space to look at that and say, these are the possible, possible laws that could be implicated. Just to clear one thing, you said advocate. I don't think there was any advocating that went on. This was a sort of an explanatory exercise. And I
meant the
honestly
firm,
didn't
not-
think
yeah.
about it probably
To
as
be
much
clear,
as
I
I
meant
should
the
have.
the firm represented or was an advocate on behalf of this entity, not necessarily you directly or even the associate.
I believe they were doing trade work with them, but I honestly don't know for sure. But to answer your question, I should have thought more about it than I did that day.
Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr.